Regrettable house cleaning. Please give Examining Kubrick a chance. Also, please consider supporting the channel. Links below. Let us get into it. There is a lot to dig through. So let me get through the basics. I've already done a few videos on this, and you can go to those for more background. The essential dilemma is, did Brian Kent, a lawyer from Pennsylvania who was representing various clients against Scientology, did he do something inappropriate or even illegal by engaging in a sexual relationship? Now, the charges are a little bit vague and unclear. Now, this is a document from an alleged Jane Doe. She's not a Jane Doe, she's gone public. But Aaron Smith Levin is inserting himself into this controversy because Rabbit and Miriam have become very partisan advocates, which is fair and fine. However, that is a very partisan angle. And unfortunately, Aaron being Aaron, he went back to it being about himself and Rinder somehow. Because Brian was on the board of ChildUSA, Rinder is responsible. But let's try to get through some of the factual dilemmas and say, okay, it's a very iffy case, but I'm not sure Aaron is, quote, helping us understand this any better.
You got to keep that in mind. This is not about moralizing about adultery here. Okay. He also questioned about whether she was happily married. His messages to her included an invitation for her to share a hotel room bed with him, as well as a request for a potential itinerary for a trip to blank. Additionally, he told Jane Doe that they had met for...
So the allegation here is that Rinder knows one of the plaintiffs. Ergo, Rinder had a special responsibility to get rid of Brian Kent. Now, this activity is at this point in time, being investigated. It could well be that Brian is innocent. There's nothing there. He's fine. He's not going to get disbarred. Worst case scenario, he is going to get disbarred. Now, where is Scientology involved? Again, Brian is not a Scientologist. He's not an ex-Scientologist. And I wish Aaron had emphasized this, but then again, his video is frankly propaganda. And again, we want to double check all these stories, but Brian says that he was the victim of CSA. Now, of course, scanning through all this, it's still going to be confusing. Where is the Rinder connection? And Rinder is guilty because of a negative hypothesis, conspiracy theory that Aaron has, that Rinder should have gotten rid of Brian Kent. And by not actively doing that, but doing so in his case, he's clearly guilty.
Oh my God, now I know who that is. Meaning, I know who the plaintiff is, but now I know who the person they went to dinner with is. After dinner, Jane Doe and Mr. Kent returned to Mr. Kent's hotel room. Mr. Kent told her that 9 out of 10 men would gladly have sex with her. Oh my God, listen, if you're going to compliment a woman, the least you could say is 10 out of 10. Jesus, oh my God. I mean, I don't know. I find that the whole thing is cringy, guys, but it's like, is that the way of like negging her? It's like,
oh, this is not hard to understand. Good or bad, Mike Rinder was on the board of the Aftermath Foundation that is dedicated to Scientology victims. Now, do I trust the Aftermath Foundation? No. It has its own problems, it has its own scandals, and its own question marks. However, regarding getting rid of Aaron, my position consistently has been, I think they did something legally very questionable. But could Rinder have actually been helping the foundation? Maybe, but the way they did it is very suspicious, and Aaron did prove they were lying about him, which I thought was very alarming. However, given more information about the abuse that Aaron has done against former girlfriends and other victims, actively hurting them, doing character assassination, and silencing them, it looks like Rinder might have made the right choice. Good or bad, maybe Rinder was justified. However, Aaron is pointing out an inconsistency. There's no inconsistency. When Rinder got you off the board, you went crazy, you sicked your friends like Serge and Nora and other people against Rinder. You brought up magically these issues and problems with Rinder being the head of OSA, essentially the CIA of Scientology, when he was active in Scientology. You magically remembered all these problematic things that Rinder might have done or did do, and you tried to destroy him. So if you're Mike Rinder, being reasonable, you'd say to yourself, well, I did. I got rid of you. You are a predator. You went crazy and tried to destroy me. So with Brian Kent, reasonably speaking, he'd be like, okay, well, I tried to do the right thing. And here's a problem. With Brian Kent, it's hypothetical. At this point in time, We don't know if he's a predator. Aaron is presupposing he's a predator. But here's a problem. Aaron is aware of these cases. So why didn't Aaron try to save these women from the predator? I don't know. According to him, Brian Kent is guilty as charged. Okay, then you were sitting by and letting this abuse happen? That doesn't make any sense. Second of all, we know in Aaron's case, we have rock solid evidence. He's been caught on camera being abusive, gaslighting people, lying, and just generally being a very disgusting, abusive person. This is not disputable. In the case of Brian Kent, we don't know so far he's guilty. We don't yet have independent evidence. With Aaron, we literally have independent evidence. Aaron is completely gaslighting people. That in his case, this was an understandable or reasonable set of, quote, private issues. They're not. They do go to whether he was fit for the leadership of the Aftermath Foundation. So the video did give us some good factual information, but again, as always, it is mainly a gaslighting propaganda attempt to make him look good and make Mike Rinder look bad. Because that's the narrative Aaron Smith Levin wants to push about himself.